page 2 of the questions and answers, or let's go to page 3. Police equipment. Larry is requesting a new vehicle. Right now, the Charger is the newest to the fleet. It has one more payment that's due in 18-19. So if we add another vehicle, we're gonna be doubling up on a payment. Because there's about $21,000 left, $15,000 is feasible, but I'm not sure if that's something that you wanna do, is have 2 payments. Usually, we try to only have 1 payment per department per fiscal year. It's just historic, it's not set in stone.
What's the size of the fleet?
4.
And
3 that rotate normally and an extra.
okay, and what's the oldest in the 3 that rotate normally?
It's before, I know it's before 2010. I wanna say in 06 maybe? I think the Explorer's in 06.
It would be good to know the mileage and the year.
The mileage doesn't really matter, it's just the condition of the car from the engines running. But I do have the year. The police vehicle repair lines have been going up steadily over the past 2 years.
Yes.
The Explorer's transmission was rebuilt and it's still having issues. The Charger works, the Tahoe works, and then you have the old Crown Vic and then the old Explorer. I think it goes the Explorer, the Crown Vic, the Tahoe, and then the Charger. So Larry's requesting a 4x4, and what's on state contract right now are Explorers.
And that would come in at the $45,000
Roughly,
range?
with, that's a little bit on the high side, but that's with the police package already installed.
That's a 3-year.
Yeah, and it would be a 3-year. We'd have to get financing for it, so 15 would be on the high side for this year.
Has anyone ever, or is it a given that it's cheaper to go by whatever's offered governmentally or through, the way we do it?
What about a mountain bike?
Meaning,
instead of going out like to, individual or to, like private company.
Friendly Ford.
Yeah, something like
Something
that
like that,
versus
buy
going
something.
off of what they have to offer, cause it's usually one vehicle, and since we haven't had a
Right.
great experience with the Explorer, we're now kind of forced into getting that, cause the prices are significantly reduced.
I mean, you're also looking at a 12-year difference. The whole Explorer's been revamped, and the Explorer, I don't know if back then it was a fleet car. Now Ford tends to have fleet vehicles. They're using, I forget what they're using for a sedan, but they're using Explorer as their known fleet vehicle for a police interceptor. Cause I looked up to see what was on the state contract and stuff.
State contract was the word I could not get.
Fords are what's on state contract, couple Chargers, for Chevy. We can try and go, on our own, but usually a state contract is the
Okay,
cheapest way to
I didn't
go.
know if that was a given or not, or something we should explore.
If we went on our own, we'd have to then go on our own to get the police package to install in it, which gets more complicated.
And then when you do it through the state, if you tell the state what you want, the state bids out to the state's dealers. So they do have other dealers on there aside from Ford. They have at least one dealer in New York for almost every car. Whether or not those cars will outfit for a police vehicle is a different story. But if we tell the state we want X, Y, and Z for police use with this type of package, they'll bid it out to, I think Freedom Ford somewhere in Long Island, and there's like 10 or 12 dealerships. The state will do that for us.
Michelle, I have back to the revenue. Why do we transfer funds from water and sewer to general?
It's to cover like incidentals, water and sewer, because they're a self-sustaining fund, they usually contribute to the operating fund. I think the amounts are higher. In the past, the general fund was doing worse off than water and sewer, and now they're about the same, or general fund's actually doing better. So I don't think the transfer needs to be as high, but it's to offset, like, when I work on water and sewer, when Jeff works on it, I don't know, the computers, things that can't be specifically itemized for water and sewer.
Okay, thank you.
Indirect cost, that's the word, that the state uses.
The highway's also requesting a
Yes,
vehicle, right?
They are,
Okay.
that's included in here because they made their final payment,
Oh,
in this
okay.
year.
Got you.
So it doesn't have an impact really to their budget, but Charlie was requesting a new vehicle, he wants a utility truck similar to Greg's, so that they can keep all their tools in it, but still put a plow on it, cause they use other vehicles for sanding and salting. So that, I think I put, 15,000 in for that as well.
Michelle, does it just make sense, like the police and highway, to always have a vehicle payment in the budget? I mean, if the police have 3 or 4 vehicles, but you pay one off in 3 years, and then it'll be 9 or 12 years before you get back to replacing that one again as you replace the
I
others.
think that makes sense.
I just think it makes sense to
especially
always
now,
have it in there.
The police fleet is aging, which will keep happening, and the highway fleet, I think some of those trucks were from before I was born. So they're quite old, and from what I understand, one of them doesn't start or something, so
Yeah, there's another one definitely on its way out.
they need an upgrade. They got a new one, 3 years ago, so this would be the first year without a payment, so it's just filling a gap in the budget. Are we planning to renew building inspector contract with Phillipstown at the same rate?
Yes, definitely.
But there's no fire inspector.
They are supposed to be doing fire inspection also. That was my understanding.
Okay.
Which I think, to follow up on that, I think that they were going to hire, Phillipstown was gonna hire another person with the hopes that the fire inspections would, actually start happening.
Excuse me.
I don't know if they've hired anyone since they just moved everything and are getting settled in.
But that wouldn't impact our contract.
No.
Okay.
How much of the fire inspector cost is offset by the fees that
Mhm.
people pay for those?
I guess you could say that. I like to get away from the thought that if this department brings in revenue, it means this department can spend. When we talk about the general fund, everybody contributes to the pool and everybody takes from the pool. So if the building department brings in 30,000, it doesn't necessarily mean we should spend 30,000 in building department.
Oh,
'Cause
I
somebody
I
else-
wasn't getting after that, I
Oh,
just
okay.
wondered what the ratio was. I mean,
I don't know what we charge for fire inspections or how many
I
are
think it's
really
$50.
done.
Yeah, they're not expensive.
I think
was
the hourly
surprised.
rate would probably pay for it. The fee that they would charge people, like businesses.
Sidewalks, we have money this year, gonna have money next year, 15,000 right now and 15,000 for next year. Is that enough? Do we need more? Marie thought that might have needed more. I know there's a list floating somewhere.
The big one is really, I mean, there's some small sections of which won't be, like this year, what do we spend?
4,000 for that one.
Right, and was it 4 for 2, right, there was 1,000
Whatever
on
that
Oak
one
and
guy did.
3,000, yeah, so I think it was 4. I can't think of any offhand, there are some, but I think that would probably cover it. The other one, the only big one is really what we wanna do with Fishkill Avenue, cause those sidewalks have to be raised. Some of them are up high and the curbs are fine, and then others, like by the library, it comes down, and then there's nothing, and for small curbs. So, the street has to be, milled, brought down, and then I think the sidewalks are gonna have to be addressed there too. So, I know that's not really an answer, but yeah, that'd be a bigger
So other than Fishkill Road, right?
And
Avenue, other than the Fishkill right-of-way street that they use, what other sidewalks need to be fixed?
You have
There's
a list.
definitely, yeah, we had
So
a
do we
list
need
and
to
there are
budget
some that.
next year for something other than this big project? or are we gonna spend all the
Yeah.
money for the project?
No, I think there's some that have to be
Do you have
done.
any idea of what this project on Fishkill Avenue is gonna cost? I mean, cause we could eat
No.
up all of our CHIPS money with that, is
I-
that enough, or do we need more than that?
I don't know what they had put in that.
I had gotten, I talked to CHA about this last year, and unfortunately, they couldn't extract just the Fishkill Avenue costs from the overall package that was let out to bid. What their thinking was, it was gonna be very expensive. What they were planning to do, I believe, is similar to what they did with,
Furnace.
Furnace, which is remove the road, drop it down, put in new drainage, and then bring the roadbed up to less than what it was before, creating real curbs. Not real curbs, creating, where the water goes between the curb and the road.
Gutter.
Gutter, creating real gutters on the west
I'm
side
always
of
there,
the,
so it's easy answer for me.
on the west, the east side of the street is fine. I've lost my vocabulary tonight. The east side of the street is fine, it's the west side of the street that has problems. But it was a big ticket item, if I remember.
But haven't they done this already? Did we pay for them to do it?
What?
Did we pay for them to do this initially when they did?
Yes, it was part of the engineering plan. Yeah, the question to them was, can you extract the costs unique to Fishkill Avenue so that we have an idea? And if we wanna pay them to do that, they will do that.
So that shouldn't be the big ticket item for them to extract it. I mean, if they've done all the work, I
If
know.
the engineering's done, they should be able to
I
put
know,
a number
we're
to
talking
it.
seriously, and yeah, I know. I can tell by the look in your face, Marie, that the answer you got wasn't what the answer I'm looking for.
For this project, would there be any ADA spots for an ADA ramp?
The south side of Fishkill Avenue already has ADA ramps.
So
The-
in terms of CHIPS, Fran, can it be revamping one, or it has to be a new one?
The street would be covered, I believe, yeah.
Right, but
Whether or
for
not the
curbs and
sidewalk-
sidewalks for
If
CHIPS,
it's all one project, I have to look into it, it may be all contained.
There could be, I mean, you could
Could
actually
probably put
put
one across from Mountain, right?
on the north side,
Or on
There
the
is-
west side of Fishkill Avenue, right across from Mountain? Is there a
On
crosswalk there?
on the west side across from Mountain Avenue, there's a very tall curb, which I believe is there to deflect the water that comes down Mountain. There's also a grate in the curb which leads to a storm drain below it. And that, remember, that was the pipe, that was going to be- yeah, which we didn't do, which would have been, but that's a very tall curb.
So we probably could, I'd have, I mean, if it's all one project that is street,
so if we
drainage
could
and
put a ramp and we
sidewalk.
can get the state to pay for some of the sidewalks, in
I mean,
addition to the
It
paving.
may be, yeah, all one project, I'd have to talk to.
So this is
Doreen.
something I think,
I mean, we have 80,000 now in
Yeah.
CHIPS pave, and if we get something similar to what we got last year, at least for CHIPS and pave, we're talking about another 40 or 50.
alright, so
The
if we take this out, how much in sidewalks do we need for next year?
for other sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
I will have to talk to Highway and ask and take another look around and see what we wanna do. I would say definitely $5,000. I mean, I can think of some offhand, I mean, they're not the end of the world, I've been going, whenever I go to other villages, I'm looking, and actually ours are in good shape. If you wanna see some sidewalks in Rhinebeck, I mean, they have bluestone that's like
Yeah,
up
it's
and
all over
down,
the place.
half
It
an
doesn't-
inch.
We
It
could
doesn't
do
look
East
beautiful.
Fishkill, we don't have sidewalks,
What's that?
we don't have sidewalks.
Well, we can do away with them.
One other problem that CHA encountered is the work that was done on Fishkill on Mountain Avenue 2 years ago. I can't tell them what was done,
Okay,
and so they would have to come back and evaluate what was done versus what they had planned to do.
there are cheaper engineers out there. As we're talking about things like that, the wall on Main Street, brick walls, stone walls and stuff like that, that may or may not need to be repaired, are we gonna look into that? Those are major,
The one that collapsed, we have a claim out, we don't know if it's gonna if they'll pay for it or not, but if not, that means we're gonna have to do that wall,
that's a
that's on
massive,
Main Street.
That's a
which
massive
is
expense.
huge.
The one that has been down for years?
No, where the tree came across the road while they were working on the
farther
tree
Oh,
going east, it's just east from where the tree came down across the road. The whole wall collapsed, the middle of the wall.
oh, gee,
So, yeah,
And the wall's our property and it goes all, I mean, you can't just like put some stones in there and fix
No,
it.
that's-
It's like, it's a section.
yeah, I thought you were talking to the other portion of the wall that had collapsed years ago.
same wall,
And it's
different,
been down
different
for a
area,
while.
yeah.
Different, this one's higher and it's
So if we have to do that, I believe the gentleman came in the office and said somebody quoted him 40,000 for that wall,
I think it would be there.
Yeah.
It could be higher.
so.
Yeah, 'cause you
Alright,
got,
let's not talk about that till we hear from insurance.
You know that fund balance money that's there for emergencies?
wouldn't that be an insured,
Well,
Item?
they sent it in,
We sent in a claim.
did we send pictures?
cause that's
Yeah.
old as well,
Huh?
that's an old wall, it's not like it's
Oh, I know.
recently built
Yeah.
or something, so
Yeah, no,
it's-
that, they should cover that.
I would think so.
Okay, couple other items, recreation, we're planning on keeping Russ to do
I'm sorry,
some,
Ken, did everyone notice that there's equipment being requested by the highway department, the demo saw?
it's less than $2,000.
Oh.
It's
Okay,
probably even only like 1,000.
I already had a couple, what happened to the break?
The ones they just bought, the ones Chris bought.
He didn't
What's a
buy
demo
demo
saw?
saws, he bought blades. Charlie said when they did the Main Street emergency water repair down here, they had a very hard time using the existing saw to cut through the concrete. They need a newer one and a more powerful one. And something about a double blade so that it can cut concrete and something else that they need to cut. So that's a small number. He wasn't requesting any big ticket equipment items. Which actually, that's gonna save us 6,000 there in highway, another change. For recreation, is Russ gonna be the one to still do, some lawn care and items for us?
Are they what?
Russ
Russ?
is still gonna do some lawn care
Yes.
and stuff for us, okay?
If not, it's gonna be somebody with the same salary.
Recycling is something new that we have to pay for starting now.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a lot of money. I put that into the budget.
Here, hold on then, I got a chance to talk to Jim today briefly. And he'll call back and we'll discuss a date.
Jim's from Royal.
The price has gone up again. Royal sent them a second notice of an increase in price. He had to get off the phone before he could tell me what the price was. So, I'm guessing this should go to maybe $50 a ton.
With the
Or-
recycle plant
Yeah,
increased?
yeah.
No, is that Royal that?
No,
Recon.
it's Recon,
Recon, yeah.
Recon,
Mhm.
the, place in Beacon.
Recommunity?
They had sent us a letter that we received in the end of February, telling us effective February 1st, the price went to $43 and change.
Mhm.
And apparently Royal has just received a second letter from them saying the price is going up again. So, my expectation is it'll go up for us as well, for all customers.
While we're talking about recycling and garbage, this entire budget assumes no changes to the highway department, no changes to garbage, recycling, collection, status quo. If something does change, we might have to sit down and rework some numbers, but right now it assumes no changes, cause that's the best information I had at the time. That's a fair assumption, right? No changes right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the street cleaning personal services, what are you recommending be changed here?
So, if you add up all the highway department salary lines, between all the little things that they do,
Right.
you're gonna get to the same number.
Right.
The previous foreman had estimated days that he thought they were gonna spend in different categories, which really, they're not spending 30 days doing street cleaning. which is why the number dropped significantly. I tried to put more realistic numbers to match expenses. If the old foreman was still here, he might have changed allocations or whatever, but the way Charlie and Bugsy are gonna be doing things, it's gonna be more in line for less street cleaning, more general highway stuff.
So is that what you'd recommend, just get rid of this line and put it in?
No, not get rid of it, but they're not gonna be spending 30 days doing street cleaning, which, they'll probably spend less days. I think when like Bugsy and Charlie, they're doing like generic highway stuff, it's not a day just dedicated to street cleaning, so, they spend an hour raking leaves in the gutter, it's street cleaning, but it gets lumped into their generic highway for the day. But sometimes I think street cleaning may be needed, I could talk to Bugsy about it, but.
Is it on their timesheets? Is that one
Yes,
of
it's
the
on
columns
their
on the timesheet?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's just not used very frequently. That's all I have for just pointing things out without going line by line. Does anybody have any departments that they wanna talk about, concern for items?
Trees,
Okay,
I didn't look at what they budgeted, what they've asked for, and I know Jen just sent something
so
late
Jen
tonight.
asked for the same amount because she wants to reapply for the grant, so she wants to say matching. Plus, she asked for $1,000 in extra for tree replacement and tree pruning outside of the grant. So I did put it in the budget, if we don't wanna keep it, that's a different, we can take it out, but it's the 12,500 match for the tree grant. I think she's reapplying soon for it.
Okay.
So that's in there. This year, even though we didn't have the grant match, the money that we allocated for the match was used because there was emergency and significant tree damage that needed to be taken care of. And I would assume that if we don't get the grant, we would have to have a similar amount of expenses
If we
anyway.
have trees as the past couple of weeks that have been damaged by storm, is that insuranceable? I mean, can we,
I don't know,
trees
we'd
that
have to
came
ask.
down,
I doubt it.
the trees that came down the river, we got insurance money for.
Yeah, we did. I don't know.
That ruined, like, the pavers and,
Yeah, but even without the pavers, they were willing to,
And
they
replace
paid
the
us,
trees.
they paid us to take them down, they paid us to dig
Cause
up
it
the
was
stumps.
a park,
They paid us to, they're paying us to put new ones in there.
was it because it was a park? Did that
I don't
have
think
anything to do
so, I
with it?
think it's just, it is our insurance policy.
I don't think there's many, I don't know what trees were actually on our property for the last storm.
Yeah, I mean,
with all
I
that.
don't know either, but I'm just
Yeah.
in general, if trees come down in bad weather, we should be more, maybe thinking about putting in a claim. And then our insurance is eventually gonna go up if we keep doing this, but,
they do look at the claim history,
Yeah, I'm sure.
when they re-quote the insurance for the following year. I think it's a 5-year claim history. Any other departments, things to
The
talk
snow
about?
plowing itself or snow removal, that we just left at the same, or,
8,000 or 8,500 in case
Okay.
we need to bring in a contractor.
okay.
I got that in there.
This is just a general question about recreation, electricity at Dockside. Do we anticipate that since we're signing this agreement and managing Dockside, that maybe our power needs might increase there too?
Well, it would be whoever will be using it will be paying for it through a fee, I guess, so. I don't think it would.
Well, I would need to know if the expense is gonna go up and the
Right.
revenue is gonna go up, it's still two separate sides of the budget, so.
Okay. I don't know what that would go up, or we haven't really
What's
started even
happening
planning or
with
offering.
Dockside, it's gonna become a park, right, that people.
Right
can
now,
use?
it's a park run by the state. Tonight, there's a resolution that we can sign a contract with them. And if we take over it, then we can offer events there, whatever, and make revenue off of it. But, I mean, I have no idea what, we'd have to put a lot together before I could give you a number for that.
So it would kind of be like, the events down at Mayor's Park and stuff, here and there, I don't think it'd be a huge electric cost,
Yeah, I mean, that,
but something.
we could raise that, I mean, the electric definitely, but it's gonna be offset by revenues.
Mhm.
Like whatever we do, we're gonna have to come up with a fee schedule, and that's one of the things that would be included in it.
If we have a little bit, I might just add $50, just a little something, and then if it's a lot more,
I mean, if we rent, you know, there's been talk, about people wanting to have weddings down there, so they'd have to come in with tents and, you know, they'd bring everything in, but they would pay us a fee to rent
oh,
the
events
place.
big like that.
Events big like that, yeah.
Okay.
So maybe they would pay us, you know, $1,000 to use the
Or we
place
could have
for
a
an
craft
afternoon.
fair or something there, or something
Mhm.
similar to that, or a small concert, and if we did that, then,
Okay. Because right now, I think the electric is more just to have the availability there
that's,
than the
yeah,
actual usage.
I think, probably the film society uses it,
Where is the electric?
the electric for that, I don't know who else uses it,
Okay,
July 4th.
July 4th.
alright. I'll consider increasing dockside. Recreation, I met with Bruce after the tentative budget was done, so I just assumed the same budget from last year. I'm gonna make some tweaks. He needs to get some items back to me for actual numbers. But overall, I don't think there'll be a big change, just maybe moving money between some of his lines.
There's one other bigger item, I'm not sure what it'll be, it'll definitely be 1,000, it'll be the doors down in the subway, there's 2 doors that go into a mechanical room.
Okay.
I mean, they're rusting out and they're like, those guys they could go down there and they were playing around with the pumps, making sure they're going, whatever, but they come off their hinges, it's like a battle, a bear.
Are they metal doors?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So I've been
Bruce
trying to get a price,
Bruce got a quote from Putnam County Doors for 2 metal doors at restrooms at Mayor's Park, I think,
That was for the restroom,
for the restroom.
right.
And it was $1,500 roughly for 2 metal doors.
Okay.
So maybe we could use that estimate.
These
Yeah,
are,
well, these are
these
gonna
are
be,
bigger.
it's gonna be custom and it's 2
Yeah, they're gonna
doors.
be a
Yeah,
lot.
and they're gonna be pretty.
And you're gonna have to take it out and put probably new jam, it's gonna be more than that.
Yeah.
I would say 3,000.
I was gonna say 1,500 each, yeah.
Okay.
I've tried to get it right, I was working with someone and they never got back to me with a quote, I sent the pictures and everything.
And this is mechanical
You scared
rooms down at
It's
the,
in the
at the
subway
subway.
itself, yeah, it's to the pump and I don't know what else is in there.
The boogeyman,
What's that?
the boogeyman.
So the boogeyman is definitely in there.
When I was a kid, that's where the
Very creepy.
boogeyman lived.
Who was the door company that he?
RNG. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Putnam County Doors? I know it had Putnam County in it.
I didn't recognize the name.
Neither did I. I know it was a name.
You know, I saw a guy fixing this steel doors on a sidewalk that we have all over Main Street. There's a guy fixing one, I have his number, he
Oh, yeah.
makes them,
Oh, yeah.
he's a metal fabricator, he lives in Garrison and he teaches
Was it-
at BOCES, and he does this on the side.
How old?
I'd say 35.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking something else. Do you have his number?
I do, I'll get it right now. And the pipe band is not charging for radio.
No?
No.
All right.
They like that.
She said they never did.
Yeah, they did. They told us and we didn't hire them. Because we're cheap. We heard all about it. I heard all about us, our penny pinching ways.
Maybe, hopefully they'll change their mind.
So I think for the general fund, we're still in good shape right now, even with some changes. I'll add the car and take away some things from highway, $6,000 I noticed. A couple of other changes and see where we stand. And as a couple things, quotes and stuff come in, I'll tweak some, like the electricity numbers are estimated based on usage for 7 months. I'll probably have 9 months of usage. We'll be able to tweak some of those numbers, just to have better idea.
Do you know what our fund balance is, roughly?
Honestly, no.
Michelle, what the process is, you're going to run the numbers again with the input that you got today. You're going to generate a second version of the budget for us,
I'm gonna call that version the tentative budget.
the tentative budget. Okay. Now, what is the 20th?
March 20th is when the tentative budget has to be presented to the clerk and the trustees.
Okay.
Not necessarily presented like physical in a meeting like this, just has to go into a clerk's office and the clerk has to stamp it saying
Okay.
it's been received.
Okay, so that was the question, do we have to have a meeting on the 20th? No, we do not.
Is
Okay.
Suwakus?
What's his name?
I know him.
So,
Oh, you do?
now a discussion about water and sewer.
While we're talking about dates though, so a public hearing has to happen by April 15th.
Okay,
April 10th is the Tuesday that coincides close to that. Jeff is thinking to do the public hearing on the 10th.
that day.
Okay.
That's our monthly meeting, is that,
It would be before,
okay?
kind of like what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose of the public hearing is to hear comments from the public if they have any. If they have any comments, we are able, if we want to make changes to the budget. But the budget that they're commenting on April 10th will be the most final budget to the best of our knowledge. I already have LoSAP numbers, which we didn't have last year. So I think by the Tuesday before, like the 3rd, that will be, the budget will pretty much be done. It'll be done with the tentative, and then if there's any changes and if we want more meetings, we can do that. Just have to see where it goes and.
I neglected to ask, did you get a budget from the fire company?
Yes, I got their budget, not for like their departmental supplies like electricity and gas, and I do all that. But what the fire department needs to operate in terms of fire protection services, yes, I have received that, and that's incorporated in here.
So, is that number any different from the number that they gave us in 2017?
It's
1% more.
it's like a 1 or 2% more.
Okay, so it didn't change.
No, it's 117, I believe.
Did we get any actuals from them?
We received actuals for money that they believe they spent that came from the village only. So they gave us essentially roughly a third.
Well, next year, all the money will come from us, so they're gonna have to give us actuals for all of the money.
Have asked for actuals for everything else, have had pushback, not sure where we stand. Jeff has been talking with them. But Fran is right, working on the agreement, it's just gonna be, this is what you're asking for, this is what the village agrees to, and then the village will determine where and how that money comes from, and who's responsible for it. So last call on general fund for right now.
So the tentative we have to have by the 20th.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we having a meeting that night? That's Thursday? We don't need a
No,
meeting, we
April
just have.
20th.
Oh, April
No,
20th? No,
March 20th
is the
20th, or
tentative.
the
I'm
tentative.
sorry, March 20th.
March 20th.
April 10th is for the
It has
budget,
to-
so.
March 20th, it has to be presented to the village
Mhm.
clerk.
Okay.
So I'll email out the
Okay,
copy
I
and
didn't know
stuff.
if we had that.
So,
And on April 10th is gonna be a public hearing. So before we leave tonight, we'll decide what other kind of meetings we want. If we wanna review again, we
Okay.
wanna do stuff through email, however we
Right.
wanna go.
Okay.
Alright, so that's it on the general fund for now. Water and sewer. Right now, the water fund has a deficit expenses over revenue of north of $230,000. A big chunk of that is the dam engineering, which is a project that's been coming out of fund balance for the past few years. Fund balance can be used to balance, not to balance the budget, but to add funds to the budget for unique projects, which is one of them.
So the deficit, you said, for the past years, we've been taking that, but what's the number been that we've been taking out? Like,
It hasn't been to.
I mean, about the tens of thousands, or?
Less than 100,000.
hasn't the water fund always had hasn't the water fund not had a deficit before this? I thought they were
The
always
fund
in
itself
good
doesn't
shape.
have a deficit, I'm just saying with the proposed revenue and the proposed expenses, we need to close a gap of $230,000.
So we have to take it out of the fund balance
Mhm.
in the water.
But
Or-
it's a poor practice to, I'm getting there, to balance the budget with the fund balance. The other alternative, so if we have 100 out of the fund balance for the dam engineering, which is fine, now we have 130, it might be worth the while to look at raising water rates. Water rates have not been raised, in quite several years, I wanna, 08 or 04, I meant to print the worksheet. Sewer rates have been raised more recently, water has not.
04 was when, it was in my email.
Yes,
Yeah, you just-
One was the flat rate,
Mhm.
and the other one was the use rate. And I can't remember which was which.
But it's an item to consider, so that the water and sewer funds should be self-sustaining.
Yes.
The revenue should be able to afford the expenses outside of big capital projects. But it should also be able to afford the borrowing of capital projects, like the yearly payments. And it's not necessarily the case right now. The water fund itself does have a hefty fund balance, so we're not in danger, but we're gonna end up where we are with sewer if we don't do something about bringing in more revenue.
So
So,
it was 2004, Marie, that you said the water rate was raised the
the
last time.
use rate or the flat rate,
The, use rate.
the use rate. So, in that email, I made some recommendations for consideration. One was to increase the use rate, which, as it turns out, really doesn't do that much in terms of generating additional revenue. At the amount that I recommended, it didn't do much for additional revenue. But changing the flat rate, which is currently $225 a year, increasing that would have a significant effect on the water budget. So I would recommend that we increase the water rate, the flat rate for water, which we are the water board. The village board of trustees is the water board, and it is within our authority to make changes. We do not have to have a public hearing, we can just make the changes. So I took a number out of the air, and the number was generated to make easy math, and that was my recommendation for the flat rate.
I mean, I definitely think that we need to raise the flat rate. I don't know when it last has been raised, because you didn't say that, but,
If 2004 was the use rate, then
Mhm.
2008 was the flat rate.
anyway, so we're
After
talking
the
10
meeting or
years.
tomorrow, I can send out a spreadsheet to everyone that shows the history of when rates were instituted,
Yep.
when they were raised, by how much, a percentage, dollar amount, so we can see,
That'd be great.
I think water flat rates, I believe, were implemented, raised 50%, and then that's where we've been sitting at. Sewer has been trickling and trickling, there's plenty of changes. So I can send that out, and then off to the side, I did a quick calculation if we raised it by a certain percentage, to get us to some money. I don't remember what it was, cause I was playing around with it.
When the recommendation, now onto sewer, there was a recommendation made by the wastewater superintendent about 10 or more years ago, it's in the same email, Fran, to increase the sewer use rate to $1.50.
I think it was when we started,
That was the first one.
yeah.
The way, what happens is, so much water comes into a property, and the property owner pays, taxes, pays a water use rate.
It's a sewer rate based off of the water usage rate.
That's correct, the sewer rate is based on,
Mhm.
now, the rule of thumb that Greg uses is that 75% of the water that comes into the property goes out into the sewer. what his recommendation was when the sewer use rate was implemented was $1.50 a gallon. And for whatever reason, that is not what the village board enacted at that time. They enacted $1.125 as the sewer use rate. So it seems to me that increasing the sewer use rate would be a very positive thing to do for the sewer fund.
If we increase these rates, would we do them effective with the new fiscal year, or would we do them effective sooner than that?
Can't do sooner.
Can't do sooner, okay.
Next cycle
Next cycle is
now.
April,
is April.
Yeah.
That's way too soon
yes.
to
Okay.
get things noticed and printed and to really think about it. I think that's a rash decision that
Mhm.
quickly. So it would coincide roughly with the new fiscal year.
It'd be July.
So that would be, yes, in the July. So that would be something I recommend be incorporated into the tentative budget.
So we're talking sewer use and water flat rate.
Sewer use and water flat,
Now, the sewer flat rate is,
220, the sewer flat rate is 300 and,
I'm looking.
225 you said before.
No, that was water. The sewer
Yeah.
flat is 313.20.
13, right, 313,
And it's the
60.
same,
Yeah.
the same in and out?
Keep the same there.
It's the same in and out of the village?
I couldn't find that out. It's, as it
I
turns
think
out,
sewer's the same no matter where.
but the
Water
Water is
changes.
the water flat rate is
Yes.
different in and out.
Yes.
The sewer rates are not in the village code. The water rates are in the village code, so I couldn't find it out. But as it turns out, the number of users that we have for sewer outside of the village are very small. The number of water for outside of the village is much larger, significantly larger.
Okay, so you'll send us,
The deficits in the past that we've made up with the fund balance, they were for, why were there deficits, or what were the big tickets on the items on there?
Some of it was the dam engineering, cause that's been going on for quite a few years, and it's like north of $100,000 for all this engineering work. There's also some engineering work for other big projects before we were able to ban for it, the sewer upgrades, relining, water relining, pump stations, things like that.
When we ban or bond for something, the amount, do we include that, the money that we've spent, or no, can you do that? Like, if we have to dip into this fund, can that be replenished by, once we have a ban?
No, it's, you usually ban or bond for construction and work during the construction phase. So engineering to assist throughout construction can be included, but not the stuff to decide what work needs to be done. Typically, I could look more into it, but to the best of my knowledge, preliminary work, even if the project comes to
Fruition.
yes, thank you,
Good.
doesn't get
Not
included.
often
Really
that I can
happy.
help
Really
somebody.
now, did we ban for any of this engineering on the dam, or did we just
No,
pull out
because
of
this is
the
all
fund?
preliminary work.
So we didn't
Once
ban
we
for any of it?
once we figure out what the dam is going to cost for this entire project, I feel we might, if we know this by next year, we should go straight into a bond. So I had wanted to bond this year for all our outstanding projects, because we're in the 6th year of the same ban. Typically ban are 5 years. Because it's a water and sewer project, we can keep going. But the interest rates change, and they've been going up. But to bond, it's a roughly, off the top, $30,000. So I didn't wanna bond right now, spend the 30, and then have to bond for this dam project, which we all know is not like $500,000.
So it costs us 30,000 to talk to the
To do a
person who's
bond
going
in
to
general.
do the bond
So
for us.
if we have a comfortable number of what we think the dam is going to be, very reasonable, and, you know, say $3-4 million, whatever it is, take the numbers that we've been banning, plus the new stuff for the dam. Cause you can go straight to bond for a capital project, you don't have to ban. You usually ban when you're not sure what the costs are gonna be. But within the next year or two, when we have that number for the dam, I think we do one big bond.
And when, if I remember correctly, these bans that we have every year, they roll over, right? We pay it off and then we have to,
We pay it off,
and what does that
plus
cost
a
us?
little extra, and
What does
Water-
that cost us
Water,
every time we do it?
$90,000 in 2018-19 for the ban. For the ban principal and the ban interest is $88,250.
but I also paid off a little extra.
For the bond, the serial bond principal and the serial bond interest for the water is $204,000 in 2018-19.
Is there a fee in addition to that, or is that included in the interest? I mean, there's a fee we pay to
There's always a
NOAA.
fee for Munistat services, it's roughly 2,500 to 3,000, to do the whole ban.
Now, we have serial bonds that I looked at, I may be getting ahead of you here,
No,
I'm
it's
sorry. How much longer do we have to pay off the bonds that's currently, we pay 30,000 in principal every year, how much more do we have on that one? Whatever, that's in the sewer, I guess.
I didn't bring, my debt folder with me, so I don't know that off the top of my head.
But there have to be multiple bonds, right? Because the principal on the bonds for 2018-19 is $195,000.
I'm looking at something different.
So the water fund, that $195,000 that you're referencing, that bond is paid off.
It's paid.
17-18 was the last payment for that $195,000 in the F fund, the water fund.
But it's in the
But you
18-19
budgeted for
request
18-19.
column.
Right,
Why is it in the 18-19 request column?
because I put it as a placeholder because when I did this, I didn't know about the dam and I didn't talk to NOAA. I had assumed that we were going to bond, so I left it as a placeholder for the new bond payment.
Okay.
After talking to NOAA on Monday or Friday, he said we can ban again, which I wasn't sure we could even do. He's the finance guy that does the bans. He said we can ban again. So this 195 and the 9,000 can come out,
So that
and
makes
that'll
it-
help balance the budget for this year.
So we wouldn't need to increase the water flat fee.
Right away, actually, right. That's a good
So
Okay.
point.
if we take that out, we're almost balanced.
Well,
Will we
we
have
would
more-
still, if we take out the
40,000.
205, we're at 235, so now you're at 130, and about 100 of that's dam engineering. So
Wait,
you're
wait.
still $30,000.
We're at 235, and we take out 100.
Well, you're-
205, so we're at.
Oh,
we're at
sorry,
You're at
yes,
31.
30, yeah.
31 is good.
yes. So we're, yes, would be good,
31 is very
would
good.
be good.
Okay, so we take this out because, so
When
that,
we do bond, that number will go up.
so the water bond is paid off. The sewer bond, you don't know, but that's a lot less.
Yeah,
It's only 30,000.
and the EFC funding that you had asked about, Fran, when we have to make payments, that'll go into the sewer fund, but I'm not clear if we have to make a payment a year after some type of milestone. And I don't know if it's the milestone of when we convert the EFC short term into the bond, EFC bond, which we don't pay that $30,000 for, or it's the first year after initiating EFC. So I have reached out to them to find that
So we
out.
get an EFC bond, we don't have to pay that 30,000, we just, now will that just be for the sewer, or can that be for the whole dam?
No, it's, the EFC bond is only for these two specific projects that we received the funding for, the $830-something thousand. It's the pump station and the sewer relining. You had mentioned a grant. Does anybody recall what that grant was for and when
We
we're
got the
getting it?
phone call, and we haven't heard anything since.
Which
The
one
phone
is
call that somebody called you and said we were awarded a grant of 200 and something. Nobody's heard anything since.
No, I haven't heard
A
anything.
couple of months ago, I don't know.
And I'd never gotten anything in writing
And I
in
don't,
paper.
yeah, I think Jeff may be able, yeah,
Okay.
cause I remember you got the phone call and I was wondering, I don't even remember how much it was just, hey, we got a grant.
So,
So it may be back in some notes, cause I think we announced it at a meeting. Some lady called me.
I remember, I don't remember what the number was.
No, I don't remember what the number was either, Jeff may remember. But they never followed up with anything.
so for the water rates, then we might want to consider towards the end of next fiscal year. I wouldn't wait all the way till 2 fiscal years to increase them.
Say again.
For the water rates, I wouldn't wait a full, like, budget cycle to
For
do the.
water, yeah, I think we
So not
can.
necessarily July, but maybe, January or March,
With-
about a year.
We're thinking the dam project, is it like November of 2019, is that when Greg's thinking of it? Cause I hate to hit the flat rate increase the same time we're gonna hit the usage increase, which is gonna happen if we don't like really conserve. Cause that's gonna, the city's gonna kill us.
I don't know
someplace.
anything about the timeline of the
Okay.
plan.
How much will we hope to raise by these increases? Like, do
Well,
you have an idea?
Depends on how much you increase.
Marie gave us
Well,
100%.
That's what I'm saying.
Depends on what we need.
What are we talking about?
It was in the
Yeah.
email.
You can just flip through.
Okay.
I get-
Okay. Okay.
But I'll do more work on that because it's not a pressing matter right now.
Now, also in the water budget was person X,
Was what,
half,
person X?
half a person X?
Yeah.
So for water and sewer, Greg's requesting, an additional person to help out. I put in $15 an hour as a placeholder for a laborer, split 50-50 with family medical insurance and all the benefits. $15 an hour is probably too low. I didn't have a number at the time that I did the budget, so I just used 15 as something. That's a number that we'll have to decide. I think Fran's setting up meetings and when we're gonna hire who and
Exactly.
figure out
Yeah.
when Greg's actually
We
leaving.
were, and I talked to Greg, when Michelle and I talked to him when we did his budget, and I think he wants to come back again. He sent us some job descriptions that he did find, and I suggested to him if we're looking for someone that's eventually gonna replace him, maybe the school that Scott goes to or wherever they go for their licensing may have a listing or something. So he's come up with some job descriptions. I suggested that we may wanna look at a laborer slash, employee, somebody that can be trained and is anxious to move up in the line. It may be around $19 an hour. When that's gonna happen, I don't know, but if you're looking for someone who's licensed or has at least got one license or more licenses, that may be, because for $15 an hour, you may get someone to sweep the floor, but not to train to replace Greg.
Yeah, you're probably talking double that for somebody
Well,
who's gonna
when they-
run.
When they get there, but I think in the beginning, we might be able to come in and something a little, I don't know, I mean, we'll
I
have to
think
see.
it's I think it's complicated right now. I think it's
Yeah.
complicated by whatever we do with garbage, once we get a number back with that, how many people we hire for that. If we eliminated one position, then we could use that one put that position back in for half and half.
Yeah, but I'm still looking at, hiring someone that's gonna train to replace Greg.
That's,
More
I
than
think,
some-
different than a 50, I don't know if someone's gonna be able to train in a year, and if we're gonna get anyone with qualifications.
Well,
I
mean,
think the
good luck
intention,
with
I believe, from meeting with Greg was he needs somebody who's gonna help him mow the lawn. But that's not all this guy's gonna do. He's really gonna, get licensed and train, but not be afraid when something needs to be swept to do the sweeping. They're operating 2 plants with 2 men, which I believe they had more manpower in the past. So,
I mean, I'd like to talk to Greg and ask him about that. I mean, it seems like they've had the same guys forever that he's been here. I don't remember it being a third guy, maybe I'm missing
Well,
someone.
I think
Borrowing
Charlie,
from highway,
I think Charlie Lewis and Buddy Greeno worked water sewer, and that had to be 15 or more years ago.
By themselves or with more people in too.
I don't know if there was a third person.
Anyway, I mean, I think it's good to leave it in a placeholder. I think it's gonna be, I think we have to, the bigger question is how we're, gonna replace Greg if he
Well, that's-
intends to relieve in a few years.
then there's
And I
also
don't
the
think that's by
option
hiring somebody
of
now.
going to a contractor.
With that,
There's another
yes,
option going to
exactly,
a
yeah.
contractor.
That's gonna be more expensive even.
Probably more expensive and somebody that wouldn't be here, 40 hours a week.
Right.
But you would also not be paying them benefits, so that's,
but with the way our system is, aged,
Yes.
we need somebody like down the street, I think.
yeah, well, I'm up for it. I mean, I think those are part of the,
This is something that, we really have to decide what needs to go into the budget for next year. If we're going to bring in a trainee, I can up the $15 an hour.
Well, we're trying to set up a meeting with Greg for maybe next week.
Okay,
Steve and I and you, if you're ready.
okay. All right, so I'll leave the 15 for now.
And you're going to, keep track of any changes that are made to any of the three funds,
Yes.
so that when we see the tentative, we'll know,
You won't see the change on the next printout,
okay,
but I save them, everything that's printed, I save it as a point in time, and then I
Okay.
work off a new version.
so if the tentative will not contain these things, would you be sending us another version on, let's say, March 27th, which is 2 weeks from today?
Anytime I make significant changes,
Okay.
yes. Cause this is like a preliminary, so the tentative will have one column, and then when it finally gets adopted, you'll see the change there. But you're not gonna see the prelim to the tentative to the adopted, you'll see the tentative to the adopted on the same piece of paper. So the
Okay.
tentative is the March 20th version.
Right,
Will be a version set in stone, and then any changes will move to the adopted column.
okay. And in the adopted, you'll show us the differences in the adopted from the tentative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's how the state wants to see it.
So, so the agreement was to leave the water and sewer person in at $15.
For right now.
Okay,
Not really too much else. I think Greg has a good handle on the water and sewer, budgets for equipment and stuff, and he has an idea, of what needs to be replaced and then what areas tend to have emergency repairs. So most of the numbers in the water and sewer budget have come directly from him. I've done the electric and the administration stuff, but anything that has to do with the contractual or equipment is all Greg. So if you have any questions beyond what I've answered, we'd have to bring them to Greg if we need anything in depth about any of the lines.
now on this one, can we consider the, increasing the sewer use fee per gallon?
I mean, we can consider it, I think, I wouldn't put it in here, I mean, I'd like to see numbers on what we're considering.
Yeah. Yeah, if Michelle's gonna give us
I didn't
this,
look at the
right?
email, I mean, I can look at the email, I didn't look at it today. I was working and stuff like that.
I didn't
so
either, we're both in trouble, 'cause
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I just read it just now though, on Fran's tablet.
That's why I brought the
I wanna see what the
tablet,
totals are and what we're gonna do, what we're actually gonna do, what we actually need now.
I didn't wanna do all the calculations if it was something that was an absolute no, so that's why I wanted to feel it out first
I
before.
think it's an
So we
absolute
don't
no,
have to
like-
do them together, we can do the sewer rate now and do the water flat at a different time, right?
Well, the water, we're saying we're not gonna do the water.
Right, and not now.
But the sewer use would get us to a balanced budget for 2018-19 for sewer.
By bringing it to,
$1.50.
$1.50
$1.50
From
Per
$1.20.
gallon.
per
per
gallon.
1,000 gallons.
Right, and what does that, what's the implications of that to a person, I don't know. How much does a person use a year and what's this gonna mean to somebody's budget? 150 and 1,000 gallons mean nothing to me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not in, I don't know
Like a
anything about
30%
sewer or
increase.
gallons.
Okay, I can.
What's that?
Is that like a 30% increase?
Yeah,
So
It
your
is.
number would go up 30% of what you currently
Yep.
pay
right.
annually.
I can go back to my, January bill and give you an idea of what it meant to me.
Okay, that'd be great.
And Michelle will give us a breakout.
Any water and sewer questions?
No?
Water and sewer?
Going once, going
The,
twice.
Steve, will we get those panels done, or should we put money into that for we never finished the panels down at Greg's, right?
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
We'll get that done?
I-
Before John, across the,
swear.
John Morton.
Well, I wanna get
starts
another email
emailing
from him
angry.
I wanna get one more email
Are we
from
talking
him.
about the fourth wall?
So
Yeah,
Are we talking about the fourth wall? at the,
Yes,
Fourth
at
wall.
the sewer plant,
Yeah, the front wall.
Okay, we got on
I
It's
thought
the,
that
happening.
was done. No?
working.
The hard part's done, actually.
Materials
I
are
could
there.
use some help if anybody wants to volunteer, because
If I get
those sheets
time,
are really large, they're hard to do by
Sure, I
yourself.
can help.
Fran can help.
Fran will be
Not a
back.
problem. I was out shoveling snow in front of the village hall today, so,
Same thing, sheet metal.
yeah, shovel snow.
So then, does that end the discussion on budget for tonight?
I'm done.
I think so.
Everyone
We
else?
set the date, so we set the.
So March 20th, you will have a new emailed
Mhm.
budget with some changes, and that will be considered the tentative budget. I do think we should have a meeting again before the
Definitely.
public hearing.
Yes.
That's something I guess we don't have to do tonight.
But we meet
Or we
the,
can
we
do
meet
it
the
tonight.
Tuesday before if you wanna do it then.
The choices are March 27th or April 3rd.
You could set it for the 27th.
Okay.
Well, you'll have it, well, you're gonna have stuff to do.
Is that a meeting?
It should be a regular meeting.
Yeah, it's a workshop.
And then Jeff will set the notice, the, public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we'll do a 6 o'clock again on the 27th?
Yeah, is that good for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm not sure we need.
Is that good with everyone?
I'm
Or
not
no?
sure we need,
We need
that much time.
6:30 maybe?
Do you go home and then come back?
Yeah,
Okay, so it doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter what time.
Okay, so, we can do it at 7.
A half hour?
What's that?
A half hour is gonna be enough to
Well, we can do it at
discuss budget?
7 and whatever it
6:30.
takes and add
Okay.
it to our button and add whatever happens to the agenda that night.
Okay,
If it looks like we're overloaded, then we'll,
okay, that's fine. So then, in Jeff's absence, the next item was the telecommunication equipment upgrade.
What time did we say the, public hearing would be?
Has not been decided.
What time?
Hasn't been
Okay,
decided.
What time do we want to have it?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
We have that's our monthly meeting night. so
But I
7 is
believe
good.
last year we had one comment, that, so.
Right.
I'm sorry, Marie, what is the date for the hearing?
The
Public hearing, April 10th at 7 p.m.
Ah, okay.
And the,
Tentative budget, well, talks.
the next public meeting on the budget will be March 27th
I
at 7
got that,
p.m.
and I have the time.
I believe there was questions about the possibility to upgrade the phone system.
The reason why I saw it on the agenda tonight and I said to Jeff, nobody's gonna know what we're talking about unless you give us something to look at, so that's this stuff, you probably know more.
I talked to him already,
Okay.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, because I wasn't, and so he said Michelle could talk to it, so.
Well, two things, one thing that was included that I really think we should do is move the, is to, in the side meeting room, to move the box that is hanging out into the space and uncovered or whatever, so that's
Yeah.
part of this package, to move that and see if we can make that room into a more functional room.
Michelle, my question to Jeff, and I think he didn't know, is typically when we do something like this, I like to go back, I like to call customers who are currently with this company to
Okay.
find out, and I don't know anybody, do you know anybody, or can we, I mean, I can get them.
I do not know
If there's any
anybody.
other municipalities or any other customers that are using them, if they like their service, if they like their stuff, you know,
Okay, that's
That-
not a bad idea.
kind of stuff, because I don't know who they
I
are.
did meet with the representative, he's been very responsive, hasn't been very pushy. I've met with one other representative who I was not confident that she could provide the same level of service. And then there's a third representative that I did not meet with, cause Jeff got quotes from 3 different places, who was doing it as a side job and could not help us or assist us during regular business hours. So, no matter how cheap that was, that's not gonna work for us. I don't think so, Jeff doesn't think so. I think you need someone, if the phone goes down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they can help you and not wait till 6 o'clock at night. What happens if it goes out at 9 o'clock in the morning? So that's why Jeff likes this company. It wouldn't be moving everything in that room into a nice concise box, so someone can't go in and just clip a wire or touch it. It'll be hidden. It would also move the system from regular telephone capabilities to what they call it telephony. It's like over the internet.
Telephony.
Yes.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
thank you. I can't pronounce certain words apparently tonight. If the power goes out here in this building, the servers are somewhere else, like say in Boston. So unless Boston has a
I
power
don't want them
outage
in
too.
Boston.
What?
I don't want them.
They haven't had good weather for the past month.
There's no
The
problem with
baseball
Boston.
team.
I don't know if he used that as an example, like throwing it out there, or if they really are in Boston. I'm not quite sure. We'll pretend they're not, though, I guess.
It's a
But
very
they're
nice
somewhere
place.
else, and they have a backup somewhere else as well. So we lose power. Jeff downloads a little app on his phone, and all calls will be redirected to his cell phone. We can put on a voicemail. Power is out. Please leave a message. It'll be checked periodically. Things like that. Whereas now, if you call, we gotta plug in that spare phone, or it's a busy phone. Nothing will work, but everything will still function.
Who is the telephone service provider?
Assurance, I believe. I think that's what it's called.
But what Jeff
Yes,
said when I
assurance.
looked through this was going to still be with Magna 5.
Oh,
Which is Verizon.
sorry. Yes.
Which is Verizon.
That was,
It's-
Yeah.
Part of it's Verizon, part of it's with Optimum, and then they have their own cloud-based system for another component. It's like a package deal.
why are we with two different service providers?
What do you mean?
Verizon and Optimum are both providing telephone service
For the new proposal.
with the new proposal. Why do we have two different?
I think because we wanted to keep possibly one copper line, which is a classic telephone, so we would need Verizon.
Is there a reason for that?
Kathy has a copper line, I know that, and I believe there's a reason.
I mean, we wouldn't need it in theory if the emergency, because we wouldn't need an emergency phone because the phones would still work. I don't know enough about that off the top of my
So-
head.
Kathy has a copper line, and I believe there's one other copper line, I don't know if it's connected to something with Greg, I forget, because it's been a number of years since I did this.
That actually raises the next question. Does this provide support for just 3611, or does it also?
No, this is the entire village.
Yep.
The cost of moving wires and stuff
Uh-huh,
is for this room here,
uh-huh,
and the new telephones themselves are for here.
right.
But they would pick up the package so that one bill for Greg's water, sewer, and highway. And maybe that's why we're on Verizon. I don't know.
So you said, so every phone in this building will be on this new
Yes, because
system.
we're getting 8 new. It will be 8 new phones.
And all of the phones at the water treatment plant will be on this system. And all of the phones at the highway department will be on this system. And all the phones at the water treatment plant will be on this system. And when I say all the phones in this building, both floors. So all,
I know it will be one consolidated bill. How the actual mechanics work behind the scenes, I don't know about, the highway, water, sewer. I just know that we were getting, the plan was for new headsets here, so if we're not getting new handsets for water, sewer, then I don't know. There was another page that he had sent that broke out the difference in the service providers. It's not included in this package.
And I also know that Jeff said we're gonna get rid of the fax machine, and our new copy machine is also a fax machine, so they'll run that wire so that the faxes will come in through the copy machine.
okay, so. And how many phones are there I guess there's phones and then there are lines. So
Would you have one upstairs?
Yes,
You don't
Two,
have one in your office?
it's one extension, 34.
but it's two physical.
Yes, two physical phones.
And there's Kathy, the board, mine, Ann's, Michelle's, Jeff's.
The
Dave's.
mayor's, and then
There
it
is
was
one-
8, and then
Right.
2 upstairs.
And
We
there's
had
one
8.
in here,
That's the emergency phone that
And there's
ends up
one-
getting plugged
okay,
in.
and then this one, we move it around, okay.
So that's 8, and then there is at least one at the highway, and at least one at wastewater.
That was not included in the proposal.
Okay, so that,
The
So-
service is included, but not new phones.
Yes.
okay. So I'm still a little confused as to what we're getting. We're getting new phones in this building,
Mhm.
but the system and the phones that are village provided at wastewater, highway and water are not gonna be included in this.
It'll be on one bill for the service,
I understand on one bill,
but I don't know
that I
what
got.
changes are actually happening.
As opposed to now, we get a Verizon bill, we get an Optimum bill.
We would still be getting those for the internet service.
Oh, okay,
We get a bill right now, it's Magna 5, which is all the phone lines. We get a bill for one of the plants from Verizon for a DSL line. And we get 2 Optimum bills for highway and the other plant for internet service. Optimum's internet service is free in this building. So we're talking about Magna 5. That's the telephones that would be switching. We'd still have to pay for internet service at the other location.
And the, cell phones are not included. in
No,
that.
that's on Verizon Wireless.
and by the way, I think it would be really useful to have a phone in here that we could use for conference calling capability. Like, if you weren't able to get down here tonight,
Mhm.
we could put you on speakerphone and still have a meeting. I think it would be very helpful to us. But I'm certainly the phones, this phone looks very nice. But I'm still not clear as to, so it's an 8-port telephony Ethernet switch with centralized power. Do the 8 ports reflect the 8 phones?
I don't know, I mean, I asked Jeff to give me something, and then he said Michelle was gonna handle it, so I do know, a couple of things, I guess this monthly charge that he said was not going to exist on the last page, the 146 and 231.90. Michelle, is that correct? They said we're not gonna have a monthly charge, right? We're gonna-
Originally, the company quoted a 5-year plan, which lumped in services, an assurance plan, a service contract, and equipment, and extended it all over 5 years. I had asked for a capital upfront fee, and then what would be the annual fee going forward.
So this $35.95 is an annual fee, although Jeff said to me no. So I wasn't, so on the front page, it's like $3,079.50 for cabinet hardware, so on and so forth, phones, and then, installation, cabling, programming, it says ITC assurance for 12 months, $35.95.50. Now, what is the annual fee? Cause this looks like more than just something we're gonna pay annually.
I don't know, maybe this is something that we have to wait for Jeff.
Okay, yeah, and I said to him, I said, it's,
He asked me to try, I tried, I'm sorry.
I know, and I got less out of it, so I know less about it than you do, but I said to him, you know, I can't just approve it unless I have some idea, and the board's gonna want it, so we may move on and just get more of an explanation before our next meeting.
In addition, it talks about, last page, 1,000 minutes usage per channel, or 8,000 total minutes per month, which seems to imply 8 channels, which seems to imply 8 phones, I'm guessing. Is that enough?
I asked about the minutes, he said we're at less than 4,000 a month right now.
Okay. 4,000 minutes.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
okay.
So
we
if
may-
one phone goes over 1,000 minutes,
It's like a shared plan.
gotcha, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need
Really,
a little bit more information.
And then
Nice looking phones.
Yeah, they do look nice.
the only other thing not included in the stapled packet, but underneath was the tab report. Jen had emailed it after the fact.
Right.
So that's there, which includes her budget request, which I took into consideration, and some type of plan that she has. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you,
Michelle.
Michelle.
Is it pizza and beer time?
Fran, the phone plan you were discussing was from what company?
ITC. It's,
Okay,
it says ITC, Independent Telecommunications Corporation.
okay.
Next report from the Policia.
Hello, Larry, how are you?
Good, good, how's everybody? For the month of February, we had 58 calls of service. We had 2 arrests. One was a felony, which was penal law 12005, which was basically in the penal law, it's somebody 65 years or older, and the assailant is 10 years younger. Becomes a felony.
Wow.
So basically, it was an harassment type, a little bit of pushing and shoving, and it elevates it because of that stature going of the being over 65.
You better watch
Good
yourself.
to know.
Better watch yourself with me.
So watch yourself.
Yes, exactly.
The second arrest was for an ROW, which is return on a warrant. There was a warrant out of our court for somebody for a shoplifting case that happened over the summer. Poughkeepsie got the person on a traffic stop. Warrant popped. We went and picked her up, brought her before the magistrate, and that was him before that. So there's a number of arrests. Was 2 for the month. We had parking summonses was 62 parking summonses, and we had 15 VTL summonses, which is moving violations. Also, last month, we had 1 officer resign. So at this date, we have 12 part-time officers in the police department. Other than that, just the snow and everything like that, everything went kind of smooth for us. A couple of accidents, down trees, wires, typical stuff. But no injuries, which was good.
Great.
I just have a question, this is gonna sound like I'm being a nudge, but, when we have no
Nudge.
parking on.
What is nudge?
Nudge, I don't know, it's either an
That's
Italian
Jewish.
word, what can I tell you? We have no parking on the streets at night, tickets aren't given out regularly, you know.
When there's no snow removal, my officers are told, usually the highway superintendent, which is Charlie, usually notifies the on-duty officer about changing the message. Usually, hopefully it's usually during the day shift, and we try to get that out ASAP. And as soon as that goes out, and it's no emergency, every ticket, every car should be summoned. If it's not happening, I will address that. Hopefully we will not be having any more snowstorms, but I will address that. If they are not doing it, then I did not know that.
Okay, yeah, there's a particular car on my street that just sort of sits there forever and ever, and I haven't noticed any tickets. Now, maybe they're putting them where I don't see them, but if they're there, they're on the side, they're like, you know, right in the doorway. I haven't noticed any tickets. I asked Kathy today, she didn't see any.
Okay.
So I know we had no parking, so, you know, eventually the car gets plowed in and then has to dig themselves out, which is sort of a shame,
Mhm.
but, you know, I don't know how that works, and I don't know if it's all streets, we happen to be at a wide street, so it's not like a pain, but,
I'm just gonna take a guess on this. They probably start at the low part of the village, and if they get to it, you know, up in, depending, I mean, there was one snowstorm, one of my officers wrote, I wanna say probably 30 to 40 tickets. So if they didn't get to a specific car or street, that could have been it. I'm not saying that's what it
Okay,
was,
yeah,
but
maybe.
I will address it to make sure that is being done going forward.
The other thing is, some complaints on just sidewalks being shoveled and, you know, within our code, we have a time for that. I mean, even if we're a little lax on that, there's some that don't get shoveled at all, so if they could pay attention to that also, that'd be great.
Yes, sir, I pulled out actually the copy of the snow shoveling law that it's out, I have it upstairs on the desk, we looked at it, I addressed it with some of the officers, and it will be also going forward, I'll make sure they abide by that.
Okay, thank you.
How are you doing filling the shifts now that you have a resignation?
The resignation came in the midst of me already doing the scheduling, so I had to cover 9 additional shifts, which all were covered
Fantastic.
for this month. Going forward, we will address it as the months go on, and as we get closer maybe to the summer, but right now, we're covering everything, we're not a problem.
Great, thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Larry. Monthly reports, we have recreation. From Bruce Campbell, the chair. Recreation Commission met on Tuesday, February 27th. Member Michael Sheffalo notified us that he had that he had to resign. A note of thanks was sent to Mike for his years of dedicated service. Met again with Haldane Group, Heidi Geeson and Michelle Hartford, proposed skate park. They continued updates as to design, contract maintenance, and fiscal sponsor funding. Recreation expressed concerns of liability, noise, community acceptance, skate park risk management, and park use. We'll plan on meeting monthly for all updates. John Shear met with us to present a request proposal for a beer festival in June 2018. This request is from him, and more of it is a private request, not a not-for-profit. His presentation was similar to his previous request for Oktoberfest, which was the Knights of Columbus, not-for-profit. Use of the full Mayor's Park field and the pavilion area. Estimated attendance 1,500 to 2,000. After addressing all other business, Rec discussed different options to re-look these types of requests, especially the fees that should be charged, profit versus not profit. I had checked other municipalities, Peekskill, Beacon, Croton, for information as how they handle large or special events, fees, etc. I sent Dave Morandi a fee that Recreation tentatively thought was appropriate. He followed up with arranging a meeting last week with the Village Board and Recreation as to fees and application modifications. Recreation members will continue researching all information and we'll discuss at our next meeting. We also met with Andrea Hudson, representative for the Tots Park. She explained that she and others from the Tots Parks will be raising funds for replacing the fencing surrounding the park. We appreciated this information and also asked for us to meet more in future to work together to ensure the needs in and around the park are discussed. Recreation, excuse me. Recreation budget, our previous meeting, I went over a list of work that has been addressed in the past and also work that should be considered in the future. I broke down the recreation budget line by line with plans to get quotes where needed and plans on other work that is necessary. This was again discussed. Recreation felt proceeds generated for use of our parks, mainly Mayor's Park, Waterfront, and eventually Doctor Park, should go into the recreation budget, which I believe they do. There are a number of maintenance items that are needed, and some being larger dollar amounts. I recently met with the village treasurer and trustee Early, and definitely feel we should follow up with discussion as to fees and recreation budget lines. The current future work plan is focused on Mayor's Park, pavilion, bathroom doors, room dividers, some exterior lighting, security considerations with lighting and tree maintenance. Request from Steve Etta for use of Mayor's Park Pavilion for the 100th birthday party of his Pop Joe on June 9th. Hopefully they approved that, which they did. Let's see, request from Phillips Town Recreation for use of Mayor's Park for a baseball clinic. July 30th through August 3rd was approved. And a reminder, the egg hunt at McConville Park, this is March, does he have here?
Yeah, March 24th is March.
Is it 24th? No, March 24th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Rain date is March 31st.
Thirty.
What's that? Should be the 30th?
Right?
I don't.
30th.
is a Saturday.
Yep.
Or 31st.
31st.
One of those two.
It's a
It's a Saturday. It's the 25th.
Next recreation meeting is Tuesday, the 20th, 7 PM with a full agenda.
Justin, Bruce mentioned that, there was going to be a follow-up meeting with John Shearer, and just to correct some of the data in this, the estimated attendance is 2,000 to 2,500 people,
Right.
and it's not including the pavilion, it's just the ball field area.
Right.
So this is for the beer festival he wants to have, he's gonna have 2,000 people?
Mm-hmm.
Between
He
2,000 and
expects 2,000?
2,500.
Although that number changed, so depending on what time.
Okay. I forgot to mention something, if I could just step in real quick, I know it's a long
Sure.
meeting. Just tomorrow, I'm sure if everybody knows, the students are gonna have a walkout. I've had a couple meetings with Dr. Bowers on security of the school because of what happened in Florida the last couple of weeks, myself and the SRO, which is the Putnam County Sheriff. Tomorrow, they're gonna do a walkout in solidarity with the students. I don't know what's gonna happen all over the county, but I know what's happening here. So approximately 10:14 tomorrow, these kids are gonna walk out of the high school. We're gonna keep them confined to the school grounds. We're actually gonna close off any access to the parking lot and to the school. I'm hoping it's only gonna last we're gonna start at 9:30, locking everything out, to 10:30. And they should be finished with their walkout, and I do believe they're gonna go back into class. Just to let everybody know, if you don't know what's going on, there'll be a big, not a big, but there'll be a little more police presence in the village tomorrow. The SRO will have a couple of cars. I'll be working along with the Beeline and Detour officer, just to make sure everything goes well with that.
Okay, great, thanks, good information.
Yep.
Let's see, planning board, I do not think we have anything from. Is that right? I don't see anything, although they met, so, don't know, but, zoning board of appeals, completed business. The board approved a special permit for a 6-inch front yard setback after a joint public hearing with the planning board on March 1st. That's 126 Main Street. Current business on 9 Morris Avenue on March 15th, the ZBA will hold a public hearing. There was a note today from the attorney for this applicant, and they're withdrawing their application for 9 Morris. So I won't read that. The public hearing, the cancellation of that will be noticed. 5 Fair Street, the board will be holding a workshop possibly on March 15th for variances needed for an addition to the back of the house. For Furnace Street, the owner has been denied a building permit for a 6-foot fence. ZBA expects an application for a variance. Other business, 191 Main Street, inactive application for a new shed at the end of the driveway on the property's Chestnut Street side, requiring setback variances. Open seat after 5 years on ZBA, Allison Antoine will be leaving the board. Thanks to Allison for her work and efforts on behalf of the village. The board would like to fill the empty seat as soon as possible and is accepting applications. Town of Phillipstown.
Good evening, everybody. Our planning board held a second public hearing last month on the Hudson Highland Reserve. I reported on this last month as well. This is the 200+ acre subdivision up there on Route 9, Horton Road, and East Mountain Road North. There was about 13 citizens that did speak out. Most of the concerns were basically the same: water management, wastewater management, traffic control in and out of there. How the waste from the horses, the 40 horses in the equestrian center, how that's going to be managed. All those things were raised at the public hearing. The public hearing remained open, and we're having a public workshop this Thursday night at 7 o'clock, if anyone's interested. Other concerns were that
Is
most
that the
people...
VFW again? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay,
It'll be at
thanks.
7 o'clock it starts the workshop, and then a public hearing is supposed to pick up again at 7:30, supposedly. That's it. Other concerns were, most people don't think this is a conservation and easement. They think it should really just be a regular subdivision. So, this is still on the drawing board. Nothing's been approved yet. I think there's still a lot of things that need to be ironed out to make a determination how it's gonna go. I would think within the next month or two, I would think the planning board's gonna have a vote. I would say, probably not this month, but probably next month, I would think they're gonna vote. I reported on this last month as well, the cell tower up on Vineyard Road, off of Route 9, I indicated last month it was denied. We just got served a lawsuit from Homeland Towers. We were supposed to meet with them last Wednesday evening, but due to the snowstorm, that's been postponed and has not been rescheduled as yet. We're happy to appoint Danielle Pack McCarthy as a prevention, treatment, and recovery coordinator. And as you know, has been reporting on us the last few months. We look forward to working with her and getting this role up and running. And this is hopefully gonna work as it unfolds. We hope to help the community with this opioid epidemic that's not just here in Phillipstown, but all over the United States. On February 21st, we held a public hearing on the firearms safe storage. That was held at the Haldane School at 7:30. The Haldane School was packed. There was hardly any seats available. And we want to we're pretty happy about this. Every person that wanted to speak got their opportunity to speak. So we didn't deny anybody to speaking. We're still in the process of looking at this, maybe possibly making some modifications, possibly not. But that's still in process. Hopefully we get this ironed out in the next week or next couple of weeks, and hopefully either pass the law or deny it. Whichever comes up. Also too, we're in the final phases of the renovation planning phases of the town hall. We did have Justin Caker from the architects, Hudson Architects up there in Route 9. He came in, showed us his plans. As everyone indicates, we'll have an elevator in this building at some point, or hopefully soon. Our plan is to have everything finalized within the next month or so, and then have bid packages sent out to the prospective contractors, and hopefully get this project started before summertime or early springtime. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple things, Bob. The town hall renovations, I think we had this discussion when it first came up, that should come to our HDRB, just as either
It's up or something, yeah. Yeah, okay.
I think it should come to us. I'm not sure what it was. I know we talked to the attorney about that. I know zoning and planning, building, you don't have to, and again, it would be good if you could send us
Sure.
that, I'm sure, But,
Okay.
and the other thing in your budget, did you add another person for the building department? I know, I was talking to Greg and
We do have money set aside for this assistant building inspector.
Okay.
Last I knew, our building inspector was interviewing a few people.
Oh,
I don't know where that stands, but yeah, we did put aside a budget for.
Okay, so that will be in addition to have that?
Bob, that's
So
there as
it'll be
well.
addition to Bob?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Bob
Yeah.
only works one day a week.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
I didn't know how
So
much.
this person's gonna, I think he's gonna work 20 hours a week, something like that.
Right.
So,
Okay.
pretty close to that. That's
Okay,
the-
thanks,
You're
appreciate it. Before I forget, I just wanted to thank and kind of praise all of the boards, especially like the planning boards and zoning for municipalities surrounding and what they're going through, and there's like legal consequences to this, and they're doing a job, and most are volunteers, so they do a really good job, and these are really tough issues for people to be handling and taking heat for. I mean, when you fill a whole auditorium with a board, a heated, topic, passionate topic, I should say, on the safe storage and the cell towers, I'm sure everyone knew that a lawsuit would be coming down the pike, so I'm sure that enters into everybody's mind when they're coming up with a decision on that, and anyway, I think they've done a great job, so.
Thank you.
Nice work for our fellow, and Nelsonville also, doing the same thing, and I'm sure are thinking the same thing. Historic District Review. Somebody would like to read that?
Shall
Thanks.
Please accept a brief report from the HDRB for the month of March. Chapter 64 update. As requested, we are preparing a brief presentation for your public hearing on April 24th, 2018. We will coordinate with Jeff to make materials publicly available in advance. Questions before the draft is distributed for public review. Should it be dropped into the format that the rest of the code follows? It is currently in a Word document that I created which approximates the code book. Second question, the legislative history of the document will need to be updated. Who is working on that, and should it be included in the draft that is prepared for the public to review or added to the final after the hearing? Design standards updates, we're in the process of editing the draft prepared by Tilly Architect, and we'll workshop the document again on March 21st. We're eager to have this much improved document ready and available to the public. Secret review, we have one secret review still ongoing, for 20 the Boulevard. We have reviewed the part 2 as a board and await the preparation of part 3 by the applicant's consultants. Public hearing, on March 14th, we will hold a public hearing for modifications to and partial restoration of one of the workers' cottages on Parsonage number 24. Regular applications, this month we're hearing a mix of projects, the proposed construction of a freestanding artist studio at 7 Marion, also under site plan review by the planning board, a fence installation at 32 Market, signage at 134 Main, and modifications to awning at the Depot Restaurant. Respectfully submitted, Kathleen E. Foley, Vice Chair.
So I think regarding those questions, anyone have comments on that? It's more familiar. Marie, do you have,
Yeah,
as far as formatting goes?
Unfortunately, the format that the code follows is difficult at best to deal with in Word. It is terrible, absolutely terrible. But if the HDRB wants to do that, I applaud their efforts to do so. So,
Is there an option there? Or let
I
them?
don't think it matters.
well, if they don't do it, then once they give it to us, we
We
will,
have to do it.
the office here will have to do it. The problem is not so much the content of the pages, it's the header and the footer on each page. They're different, so you can't use word header and
Well,
footer.
you can, because I did, when I first started working here with Mary, I did a couple of chapters for her, and there is a way to do every other page with a different header and footer. It can be done.
I've tried it, Fran, and I was unable
Okay.
to get it done. So the page number at the bottom is chapter number running into page number of that chapter. And at the top, if it's an even number page, the left-hand side has to say one thing. If it's an odd number page, the right-hand side has to say something different.
I do have a format for it. I may have a different version of Word than you have.
Okay.
Okay.
But
you know,
it's difficult,
yeah.
so,
So their answer is,
The answer is
Yes.
if they
Good
can do
luck.
it, yes,
Yes.
we'd like them to do it.
yes,
Make it easier for us.
yes.
and the second was, I know the history, I thought that they would work on that,
I don't
but
know.
That's what I would have thought also, that there's an original history,
Right.
which we question
Right.
whether or not it should then be modified to be current history.
Didn't John word that? When John sent his word, wasn't it worded according, so it brought in the history? I thought when John sent a write-up of that he had done something like that. I could be wrong.
So I would say relative number 2, the first question, I thought they were doing that.
Okay, I will send that. Okay, fire company, anything, Steve?
There is no report given.
Parking committee, don't have any. Tree advisory, we got late, and I don't know, is that even, no, yeah, it was on the front part here.
A lot of this is budget stuff.
A lot of-
Quite a pamphlet.
I'll just read the top, there's budgeting here too. Dear Mayor Morandi and Board of Trustees, please accept our apologies for the tardiness of this letter. The tree board did not hold a meeting in January, so we did not complete our budget work until our meeting on February 28th. First, we'd like to thank the board for their increased attention to our dire tree maintenance situation this year. Though we were disappointed to have our state grant application rejected for submission in the last grant round, number 13, we are optimistic about the next application. We have spoken this week to our senior DEC regional forester, George Profus, and he has confirmed that the round 14 grant is set to be announced in April. is highly encouraging of our application. We're in an excellent position to apply for this round 14 grant, having already completed the application. We will be working this month to lightly update our grant materials to bring them up to date with the changes in our tree inventory and other conditions that occurred in the past year. Looking ahead to the next fiscal year budget, we request that the Village Board of Trustees plan ahead for similar maintenance needs as this year and to carry over the grant matching funds in the same amount so that we will be in excellent position to win this grant. And then the rest is budgetary.
Yeah, there's one thing, two things in the budgetary thing.
Okay?
The tree removal, the highway crew was supposed to get a loan from the town and the county for tree grinding.
Mm-hmm.
And it is suggested here that that loan may have expired or be close to being expired.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
They have the equipment, I think they might have brought it back, they had it here, and then we didn't get it in time, so I
okay.
think if we request it, we'll be able to get it again.
And then,
I think they were gonna loan it to the town, or the county was gonna loan it to the town, and the town was gonna work with us.
then, item number 4, under B, the tree advisory board suggests that the village board immediately make plans to expend monies to surface the bare minimum priority areas. Approximate projected cost $2,000 to $3,000. So it appears as if there's additional funding that is being requested.
It
I'll-
does look like that. Yes?
I'll bring that to Michelle's attention tomorrow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anything else on that?
Mhm.
Code update?
Due to inclement weather, the code update was only able to hold one regular meeting in February. At that meeting, committee members reported the progress that had been made in researching the 5 topics for Phase 3, which are outdoor lighting standards, evaluate steep slope standards, evaluate flooding standards, evaluate adopting a ridgeline protection overlay district, and green building standards. The committee agreed on dates for the remaining project milestones. These will be submitted to NYSERDA. Additional work is needed on the responses to the comments received from the Phase 2 public meeting. This month, NYSERDA notified the Code Update Committee that there will be a new NYSERDA liaison. No additional communication has been received from the new liaison.
Much of a liaison.
Yeah.
Greg, you're up.
All right, we start with wastewater. The main thing on there is the Market Street Pump Station replacement. Its substantial completion is April 27th. Fast approaching. I still haven't gotten a construction schedule, and I've been asking for the last couple of weeks out of them, so I don't know. I know they're waiting on, there's some equipment that was ordered a while ago that has, 6 to 8 week lead times, and it may be, and I'm hoping is just the fact that they're trying to get all their ducks in a row before they give us the actual timeline. It's not expected to be more than a few weeks on site. It's not a very large project in general. It should be something that gets started and knocked out in a month or less. So, but getting them started is going to be the thing. So as soon as we get a construction schedule, I'll forward that along. And related note to that project is the Campbell Avenue Pump Station experienced 2 outages so far this month, each lasting more than 24 hours. One was close to 2 days and one was just over 24 hours. I've asked our engineer to propose a change order allowing the electricians for the Market Street project to also outfit the Campbell Avenue station with the same fixture for the generator. We have a portable generator that we can tow down to the pump station and hook it up. The equipment that's at Campbell Avenue and Market Street right now is, circa 72, and it's nothing that I would touch. and we haven't. So we've basically been waiting for power to come back on for both of the stations, and we've been okay with that. Short of that, we'd have to hire a pump truck, but we've been okay so far as power outages. But as long as the new equipment is gonna go in from Market Street to get the same equipment and the same connective ends to be at Campbell Ave, and also outfit the portable that we have with the correct ends so that everything marries up, it'll be much more efficient, and safety is a big deal there. So, so that's the big thing there. We don't anticipate that's gonna be a massive change order. It's just fittings, and, you know, we'll see, but that's gonna help us along with that.
Is any of the work down at the Metro North area, is that gonna affect traffic at all, or is it all?
There are plans for adjustment in traffic for, you know, they're gonna be right in the mix of things, and one of the reasons why, you know, April was the next pick target for us when they didn't make the fall, was so that you can get out of obviously the winter travel and everything down there. Everything gets cropped in with snow and everything else, so it was to try to get past that. And April hopefully won't be quite as snowy as March. And
Do you know what the idea is, or where the traffic will be able to go?
I'm not exactly sure. We could get the plan and send it along to you. There is a plan for it.
Probably notice that in the papers for commuters, if it's
Sure.
gonna affect or whatever. if
Yeah,
they're
I
dashing
think,
down
I
there,
think
so-
they're required to put notifications out,
Okay.
but we'll make sure it happens.
Okay, thanks.
What else was there? Oh, and, on Market Street, as you approach the Metro North lot, I mean, it's a disaster as far as the road conditions. And
We
that's,
just sent a letter to Metro North asking if they would help us. It's our property.
it's actually ours, yeah. And so one of the suggestions was the potential, since there's paving for our project down there, is to see what they would come up with for a change order that would take us up the street and
Right.
get that included.
Okay.
If it's not exorbitant and you agree to it, we'd be able to do that,
Yeah.
and it
Well,
would
we
be
do have
reasonable.
CHIPS money that Michelle was recommending we spend some of, which that was one of the spots definitely needs it.
Yeah, no,
Unfortunately, it's all traffic, not related to the village.
Yeah, it does slow them down a little bit, so.
What's that?
What's right, I said, it does slow them down a
It
little
does slow
bit. They,
them down, yeah.
you know, they get down around 40 or so when they're coming through there.
Doesn't that get addressed by the village almost every year? No,
That area for paving,
yeah,
it hasn't been, I think we've just done fill work there, we've
Yeah.
never done, it really needs to be kind of ground
It's
filled
all
on top.
potholes.
Yeah.
is there better drainage that's necessary?
I don't know roads,
I think it's use, I think it's a lot of traffic.
Okay.
yeah. So that's wastewater. For the water department, the Upper Reservoir Dam Rehabilitation Project, I finally distributed to you the tectonic response with the drawings and whatnot. I apologize that I thought I sent it out. Then I did. So with that, we still need more information to have a meaningful dialogue with property owners around the reservoir. So Mayor Morandi, Trustee Bellotto, and I are meeting tomorrow with a representative from Tectonic as well as Bart Clark to move the discussion along, to get a clearer picture of what we expect from them, what we really need to have in order to, you know, we can't just go there with a couple of drawings and say, here's what we'd like to do. And, you know, no, there's just not enough to get any real work done on it. And it's gotta move along, because it's gonna hold us up. We need the easements, and we're gonna have to figure out what it's gonna take to get there. We also met with Hudson Highlands Land Trust representatives last week to discuss possible grant opportunities for the purchase of easements on properties in our watershed for its protection. And tomorrow's discussion should help clarify some objectives there, as well as many of the property owners overlap in both scenarios. It really deals with the, you know, those that are right around the perimeter of the reservoirs. Some of those also double up with places we need easements for the project. SWAP, Safe Water Infrastructure Action Program, bill endorsements. I know we just did, Fran brought it to my attention, we did it in November, and Mayor Morandi signed a letter from the village to Serino and Assemblywoman Galiff. The New York Rural Water Association, it's a new initiative. They just want to get things, you know, they sent out another sample letter. It's different than what we had sent out, so I'll move it along to you guys and take a look at it if we want to, you know, put another one in for a new round, because it's a new year for them to be considering it, that they're asking that we all.
Are they the same bill numbers?
I believe they are,
Okay.
yes, I believe they are. But nothing is, it's still in,
No.
yeah, it still hasn't happened yet, so, so I'll pass it along to you, and if you decide to sign on for that, it would help.
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah, cause it's a lot like the CHIPS program, I mean, you would then know every year what allotment you're gonna have, and we could use it to rehabilitate things instead of having to bond, we would be, utilizing those monies as much as possible, and we all know money's tight, so, projects are never ending.
Just on the land, the meeting we had at the Land Trust, Greg and Michelle Smith, I think it's really important that most of the properties around our reservoir and our water system aren't protected. I mean, there's minor protections, but this would hopefully, maybe purchase lands that are owned privately, and surround, like right now, around our whole reservoir systems that are,
Yeah.
not really protected, or minimally.
Right.
So,
Or even with the conservation easements, even if we don't purchase it, at least get
Right.
get those easements in place so that, nothing would surprise us.
Is there any consideration for an environmental overlay district for that area to prevent the application of certain kinds of chemicals for, weed reduction, et cetera?
I think she's working on that also.
Oh, that's
Not
great.
just about-
Great.
With Phil's
Water
testimony.
study.
What's that?
They're gonna do a water study as well,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. And that, well, I think she did mention that, I don't know if it was.
She
in
did,
the-
she mentioned, Phillipstown, that this is an opportunity for them to maybe be a little more stringent in their rules in the overlay or something like that, like, she said they're working directly with you guys. I don't know. Wasn't it something like that, Greg? I can't remember.
Yeah, we're gonna be part of the process, yeah, and we spoke about it, the one meeting we had with the DEC, when Bobby, you were there, we talked about, any potential holes that are in, whether they be zoning or anything regarding that
Right.
specific area, that, time to review it is now before something comes on the table to you, and it's too late to make any changes.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Just a quick question, is anyone still on the old water meters? Are all the water meters changed?
I think there are.
There are a handful of accounts, there's probably 15 or 20, I think, that are.
Did we ever change ours? I know you mentioned to me
I
many
asked.
times.
Um,
I thought, because if it's not, you gotta get changed. Yeah, what, you think so?
Pretty sure.
I had asked Bob if he could check with Tina to see if we,
I mentioned it to her that day, very next day, but I didn't follow up with her if you got it changed.
So down in the basement tomorrow and take a look at it, I mean, it's either there or it's not, and I'm pretty sure it is, but
I'm sure
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
did you ever give any thought to changing the way they're charged? We should talk about that. Thank you.
Next, building department,
Thanks, Greg.
new building, permit applications 13, building permits 8, dumpster permit 0, COs issued 4, title search completed 5, referrals generated, HDRB 4, ZBA 2, and planning 1. Fees, applications and permit fees collected, title searches and other fees, the total for February was $5,160. Total to date is $27,222. Let's see. Highway Department, do we have anything or not?
No, Bugsy said he will hopefully come and present next month.
Okay,
He gets his head around it, told him I talked with him.
okay.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Get
he'll
a
be
new
good.
visitor.
He'll be good.
Justice Court, fines, forfeited bails and civil penalties, $3,040, parking tickets, $2,125, civil fees, $535, mandatory state surcharges, $1,558, for a total of $7,258. Respectfully, Thomas J. Costello, Village Justice. Let's see. Anything from the board? Any reports? No? Okay, like that for tonight anyway. Next, we have Resolution 07-2018, authorizing mayor to sign contract with Putnam County Real Property for preparation of 2018-19 village taxes. We had this on our agenda last week, but did not have a resolution for it. So the resolution reads, the following resolution was offered by, okay,
Need a
do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion authorizing Mayor Randy to sign the contract from Putnam County Real Property for preparation of 2018 village tax rolls and bills.
A second?
Second from Lynn. Whereas the Putnam County Real Property Tax Service has tendered a proposed contract to the village providing for certain services in regard to preparation of the village's tax roll and bills, and whereas the village board finds that it is in the best interest of the village to enter the said contract, now therefore it is hereby resolved that, 1, the village board does approve the proposed contract, a copy of which is attached hereto, and 2, the mayor is authorized to execute said agreement and any documents necessary for its implementation. You're on, Michael. Roll call.
Roll call vote, trustee Early,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Veloto,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Okay, next, consider resolution 08-2018 authorizing mayor to execute agreement with New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. This was also on last week's agenda, and we need a resolution for Parks to move this along. So do we have a motion? Where are we on that one? Okay.
I'll make a motion authorizing Mayor Morandi to execute the cooperative agreement with New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation.
I'll second too.
Whereas under section 309(2) of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Law, Parks Law, State Parks is authorized to operate and maintain by contract, lease, or license any park, recreational facility, historic site, or parkway. And whereas pursuant to section 3.096 of the Parks Law, State Parks is authorized to encourage, promote, and engage in cooperative, recreational, educational, historic, and cultural activities, projects, and programs undertaken by any federal, state, or local government agency or private philanthropic or nonprofit interest for the benefit of the public. And whereas the land constituting the Dockside Park, a portion of Hudson Highlands State Park located in Cold Spring, New York, hereinafter Park, is owned by people of the state of New York and under the jurisdiction of state parks, and whereas the village of Cold Spring is a municipality organized under and pursuant to the state laws of the state of New York, and whereas the village of Cold Spring has agreed to assume and continue responsibility for the operation and management of quality public programming in accordance with the cooperative agreement for the park and state parks, has determined that the best interest of the state will be served by the operation of the aforesaid programming by the village of Cold Spring in cooperation with state parks. Whereas the village of Cold Spring Board of Trustees finds that it is in the best interest of the village to enter the said contract. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved that the village board does approve the proposed contract, a copy of which is attached hereto, and 2, the mayor is authorized to execute said agreement and any documents necessary for its implementation.
Trustee Early,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Veloto,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Thank you all.
Congratulations, Mayor Morandi. You put a lot into this one.
See how long it takes.
Yeah, right?
Speaking of putting a lot of time into it, this is Lynn's work on this one, so we'll thank her for it in advance. Resolution 09-2018 establishing fees for film and audio-visual production. I will make a motion to accept the Resolution 09-2018 establishing fees in film and audio-visual production. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments?
Mhm.
Okay, should have asked on the other one. Whereas the Village of Cold Spring of Trustees has amended the village code to add chapter 49, film and audiovisual production, and whereas the Board of Trustees has recommended instituting an application fee of $50, and whereas the Board of Trustees has recommended instituting an application fee of $300 for any request to expedite the application, and whereas in addition to the application fee, the Board of Trustees has recommended there be a permit fee based on crew size and location of the production as follows. I won't go into all of that, there's a copy if anyone would like. Fees for filming, okay, and whereas the Village of Cold Spring Board of Trustees has the authority to waive fees for certain nonprofit and or charitable organizations at its discretion, and whereas if police service, fire protection, other village staff under services are required for filming, the production company will be billed for the actual costs of such services. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trust of the Village of Cold Spring hereby approves the proposed fee schedule for film and audiovisual production.
Trustee Early,
Yes.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Veloto,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Thank you again, Lynn.
Congratulations, Lynn.
That was finally wrapped up.
Yep. Nice.
Next, as everyone may or may not know, Charles Norton is taking employment with with Haldane Central School. He'll be leaving us at the end of this week, but every other weekend he works for the water and sewer, or sewer department down at the plant. And so this is to approve hiring of Charles Norton as laborer, part-time, at his latest rate of pay. I think that pay is justifiable since he's helping us, although it's above what, we would probably pay someone just starting off. Anyway, Charlie's been doing this for a while, so I will make a motion to approve the hiring of Charlie Norton at his latest rate of pay.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Set date to hold public hearing for FY 2018 budget. I think we did that already. Approval of bills.
I would like to move to approve batch number 4528 for a total of $45,436.89.
I will second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anything from the John Q. Public?
One question regarding state parks and dockside.
Yes.
Does the village have to share revenue with the state if you take in revenue from events, et cetera?
No. Oh, that's not, yeah, no. We asked that question. Anything else from the board? Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oop.
That's a good meeting.
Long one, but a good one.
2 hours and 40 minutes, not bad.
Yeah, considering all the things we accomplished a lot.
Did, do you wanna talk to